What kind of weird alien opal fossil has Julian dropped off? This is a wild piece. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So this is going to be an interesting stone, and I'm going to cut it in a way that I haven't done so in the past yet. You can see here it's a very complicated amalgamation of a bunch of little bits of fossils. So I'm seeing a little bit of a tube here, probably a belemnite, a bit of shell over here, bit of shell over here, bit of shell over here. It could be like 3-4 shells put together. And this is from Julian Stavrius. It was part of the belemnite and fossil parcel that he dropped off a little while ago. And the key to this one is to keep it all as one piece. So I'm just going to keep uncovering the sand until we hit opal, and then just basically polishing up the opal wherever we find it. So it's going to be pretty tricky. I'm worried about it falling apart because it definitely looks like there's sand connecting between each of these fossils, as you would imagine, because they're going to die, sink to the bottom of the seabed, and then opalize from there. So there's always going to be little gaps. But because we want to keep it all together, this will not be touched at all by any kind of sintered diamond. So instead, I'll show you the new method that we're going to do for this one. So here is the plan. We're going to go with just novas. I've got the full range of novas here, thanks to Suva Lapidary over in the US. Suva Lapidary supplied any of the viewers that are in the US, instead of buying directly from my store, I always recommend to buy from them. They're much closer, the items will get to you quicker, and the Nova points are actually a lot cheaper. They're made in the US, so you can get the cheapest price there. You're really lucky. So the plan is, start off with the 60 grit, 140, 280, 600, 1200, 3000, 8000, 14,000, and then finally see how good a polish we can get with the 50,000. Now, a lot of these burrs I haven't used in the past. For example, I haven't used the Rust 140, I haven't used the light blue 50,000, and I also haven't used the 8010. I have used the cream 1400, and I wasn't that happy with the final polish that it yielded, so maybe the 50,000 will carry it a bit further. The highlighted ones here are the ones that are in the standard 4-pack, and of course I've used the green. I've got it sitting just over here. I've used this green a fair bit, and it's starting to grow on me. So I'm wondering what all these other ones are going to be like, and to really test that, we're going to go through all 9 of them. See if that keeps this opal together and gives it a good polish. If not, we'll hit it with the cerium oxide and felt at the end. But hopefully this does, I don't know, it's 50,000 grit. If you go 50,000 grit diamond paste, you can get a reasonable finish on a lot of stones. So I am hoping this one will pull through and do pretty well. But there's only one way to find out, so let's get it spinning. And here we go, 80 grit Nova point. Now, whenever you're starting a piece like this, be really careful. You'll see here that I'm just going to test a few little areas that I feel are different. So I'm just checking the opal, making sure that it's not too brittle. And then I'm going to be checking a few of the sandy spots. Some of the sand looks a little bit different, so I attack a few different areas. You can see here, just going at this area that looked a little bit speckled with opal. Checking just the sand, the hardest of the sand on the tube there. But then I'll go in and check some of the softer areas. You just want to be really careful when you're starting a stone. It can be pretty unpredictable. And then here, we'll have a really good look. See how this just churns through. It's almost as good as the diamond burrs, the sintered diamond burrs. So it's really an aggressive piece. And I've been saying it's growing on me, but during a lot of this, using the 80 grit, I could feel that some of the diamonds come loose out of the resin, and it's a really jarring feeling when you start running over them, and they can also get stuck in a few areas. So that was a little bit annoying, and therefore I ditched the 80 grit Nova point pretty quickly, and most of the work I did on this stone so far is with the rust coloured 140. So we'll switch over to that in a minute, but you can see here I'm not really touching the opal. There it kind of looks like I am, but I'm not. I'm just scooping. And then I'm just getting rid of a little bit of the crust. We don't want to hit the color bar with this point. It's just a little bit too aggressive. So I always just treat this much like I do the sintered diamond. You want to get close to the opal color, but you don't want to go right through. So leave a little bit of crust, leave a little bit of sand. It's not a huge problem. I found that the 140 actually gets through it pretty quick, and I know that the 280 can also do a really good job because I use that one all the time. But yeah, working on some of these more delicate parts, I wanted to try it with the 80 grit, just because I knew that if it was really loose or crumbly, the 80 would highlight that pretty quickly, and it's better to learn early on how unstable or stable a stone is. So now we're switching over to the 140, and with the 140 I'm doing a lot of the shaping. Because of that grittiness of the 60 grit, I was a little bit too scared to do the shaping on this because it's such a fragile piece. Even the way I'm holding it now is stressing me out. Towards the end, I really had to consider how I was holding it because I think that top part I could snap off just by holding it the wrong way or having any kind of vibration. So you have to make sure your burr is well centered and that you're holding at the strongest points. So a lot of the time I'm holding around that shell part. Here I'm holding it and it's also stressing me out a little bit, but with the 280 I was going really gentle anyway. I didn't want to take off too much of the sand up here because I think I'll push through. I could see with a torch that it's really thin in some areas, and I've already poked through in one area to try to reveal this gem shell bit. Definitely worth revealing properly, and you can see here with the 600 I am starting to get to that color. So I am drilling down into the color, getting rid of the last of the little inclusions and whatnot, and now you can see that it is properly exposed. And we start doing the pre-polishing steps, getting ready for the polish. So 1200 Nova, you'll see I'll hit basically anywhere there's exposed opal, I'm hitting it with this 1200. And I'm hitting it quite aggressively because I think I spent a really long time with the 600 brown on this one. It was the one I was the most comfortable with, getting rid of all the inclusions. I didn't want to do the 280 because it was causing a bit too much vibration for my liking. And yeah, it's just because the 280 is a bit misshapen, so the burr does have a bit of an effect on the vibration. And then 3000, same as the 1200, we're really just scrubbing it up, pretending that we're doing a polish, but it really is just a pre-polish. It's very rare to get a nice polish out of the 3000 Nova resin. And you can see it's taking a pretty good display of color. So it's really gotten through the crust and we're starting to expose the opal and it's looking pretty good. What kind of weird alien opal fossil has Julian dropped off? This is a wild piece. And because of how wild this one is, it's actually going to take me an incredibly long time to get this fully finished. So I'm going to call this a checkpoint. We've just gone through to the 3000 Nova, so it's got a little bit of a pre-polish, but not that well because I haven't spent enough time, especially up in this area here. There's still a bit more sand. I don't want to get rid of too much more because then I think it'll fall apart. But at the moment, it is a very strange looking piece. The bits of opal in it, especially this rod and the what looks like half a piece of shell just here, are just pure gem opal, which is amazing. And if we decide to, I guess it wouldn't be too bad to just get rid of all this part on the top. But Julian did tell me that he wants to keep it intact, so I'm going to keep it intact as best as I can. Most of it does have a small opal link between each piece, but not very much. So if I removed all of the sand, it would definitely crumble. So definitely going to have to do a part 2 where I pit my new high grit Nova points. So the 8,000, 14,000, 50,000. And I think for this stone, I'll probably have to put it up against my aluminium oxide. I say that mostly because of all that sand. And if you've got any kind of non-opal material in your stone, the aluminium oxide will actually get a much better finish, much better polish on it. This will work on the opal, but this will also work on all that random bits of sand around the place, as long as it's not too soft. Whereas the cerium oxide's got a much larger particle size, and once it's being used as an abrasive on sand, you won't get that polish all that well. Which is why it's not the best for boulder opal. The ironstone isn't silica based, so it's much better to use a finer grit diamond or aluminium oxide. So this one, I think, we're going to do an aluminium oxide versus 50,000 Nova Point range test, which should be fun, and I'll remember to link that in the description below if you're watching this in the future. If you're watching this soon after release, you're going to have to wait a couple days, but we will get this done, and hopefully it looks like an absolute weird alien. Now, I do still think it's just a conglomeration of multiple bits of opal, but it did have me doubting it a little bit at times. Like, I still see the belemnite on the bottom, but it's not tapering, it's very straight. And then I do still see this as being a shell. And then all of these bits here, I assume are just more little fragments of shell, but it's strange because they link together so well that it almost feels like it's still kind of one piece, some of these bits. And then it wouldn't make so much sense sense to be a shell. Man, the S tongue twisters are getting real. And this part just here, you can see that there's this little, it's like a little leg with a knee joint there and another part of the leg. It's very strange, but maybe it's some unusual sea critter, or it's just a really unusual stack of shells piled together. I guess on the sea floor you get a lot of things collect there, so could be anything. Let your imagination run wild on this one. I am gonna take a little bit of a break, edit this video, and then get to the second half where we get a polish on this thing. At least on this gem opal section, we'll get a really nice shine. Not too sure up here, but we'll give the aluminium oxide a good crack and see how it goes, and the Nova points as well. Hopefully the Nova points do the job on their own. We'll see. But anyway, I better get to it. This one's taking a long time, so I'll see you in the next one.